We learned the Brisa yesterday. We're at the bottom of Beis Amid Aleph. We learned the Brisa yesterday that Rabbi Yehuda says, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Emasai Bisman Shashon Meketiknam v'Yisrael Shuli Ma'adim Masam. When are we allowed to read on 11th, 12th, and 13th? That's when we're living in Eretz Yisrael and everything's good and everyone's going to get the message when Rosh Chodesh is. But in Gullus, in our times, since ignorant people or might look in Gullus and say, wait, I read the Megillah and now I could wait 31 days till Pesach, and they might not realize that they read it early, and then what's going to happen, they're going to end up eating chametz on Pesach. So therefore we say that you shouldn't read it early, says Rabbi Yehuda, and we said that that's the sheet of the Chachamim, like the second Rabba Bar Chana Rabbi Yochanan. Now we're at the bottom line on that on Beis Amid Aleph. Rav Ashi Kashli de Rabbi Yehuda de Rabbi Yehuda. Rav Ashi had a question of Rabbi Yehuda on Rabbi Yehuda. He had a contradiction. Why? Our Rabbi Yehuda just said what? That Bisman Hazeh, you don't read on Yud Alfi Beis and Gimel. I'm going to show you the Mishnah later on that he says differently. So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Ashi had a question. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda. Now we turn to Amid. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore he's going to say that instead of the brisa being Rabbi Yehuda, since the Mishnah later on sounds like Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold what he does, we're going to say that the brisa is Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda. So says the Gemara like this. So this is his question. Rabbi Yehuda bisman hazeh. Does Rabbi Yehuda say that bisman hazeh and gullus we don't read on Yud Alfi Beis in Gimel? I'll ask you a contradiction from the Mishnah on Daf Hey. It says Rabbi Yehuda. The Mishnah starts off. Emasai, when could you read on Yud Alf, Yud Beis, and Yud Gimel? He's a Mishnah. He's going on our Mishnah. He said, when did Rabbi Akiva in our Mishnah say that you could read on Yud Alfi Beis and Yud Gimel? B'sheni v'chamishi. That's when people, the villagers, enter the big cities on Monday and Thursday. So they have a gain to read it early. We have a gain for them to read it early. But if you have a place that villagers don't end up coming in on Sheni v'chamishi because it's a place, let's say Bezdin doesn't have a set Bezdin there, and they don't have a court happening in those days. So then says Rabbi Yehuda in the Mishnah later on, Ein kornosol bismana. You won't read it except on the 14th and the 15th. So what do you see, says the Gemara? But when there is a Bezdin, and they do come in on Monday and Thursday, even in our times, because the Mishnah is going when? In our times. He's going on Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said on all times, even in Gullus, you're allowed to what? Read it early. And he turns around and he says, you're able to read it as long as there's a Bezdin. So therefore, that's a contradiction straight up. So so therefore he says that our brisa that we read yesterday, that is going according to Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, and the Mishnah is going according to who? According to Rabbi Yehuda. Ask the Gemara, Pasha the Kasha. Umishum the Kashle de Rabbi Yehuda, and because he has a question of Rabbi Yehuda, Mukumam LeBraisa Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, just because he has a contradiction, he changes the names of a Tana. Answers the Gemara, no, of course not. But Rav Ashi Shmiele, he had already heard the Iga de Tani like Rabbi Yehuda, Iga Tani like Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda. He already heard before then that there are those that quote the Brisa in Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda's name. So once he had heard that some quoted in Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda's name, and since he had this contradiction, this question of Rabbi Yehuda on Rabbi Yehuda till later on, Amar, he said, Man de Tani like Rabbi Yehuda lav dafka. Must be that the people that do learn Rabbi Yehuda in the Brisa are reading it wrong. It's lav dafka. That it's not specific. It's not right. And man de Tani like Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda dafka. And those that learn Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda is dafka. And now we don't have a contradiction. Says the Gemara on. We already learned that the walled cities that read, for the walled cities from times of Shulban read it on the 15th. Ask the Gemara, wait a second. It says in the Megillah that the open cities read on the 14th, and we know Shushan reads on the 15th. Where do we see anywhere that walled cities, other than Shushan, read on what? On the 15th. Minani Mili. Where do we see this? Amar Rava, Rava says, the Amakra, we could deduce it from the pasuk because it says, Al Kain Ayudim Aprozim. Therefore, we're coming in the middle of a sentence. Therefore, the Yehudim in the open cities, Hayoshim Ba'arei Aprozos, that live, the Prozim, the open city people, Hayoshim Ba'arei Aprozos, that live in the open cities, they read on what day? The 15th. So now we can make an obvious deduction. If it says the open cities read on the 14th. If the open cities read on the 14th, that must be the walled cities what? Read on the 15th. I mean, the Prozim Ba'arba, since the open cities read on the 14th, Mukafin Mechamisha. It's obvious that the walled cities, even other than Shushan, read on the 15th. Ask the Gemara who said. Is that the only choice? Says the Gemara, you're not going to believe this question. The aim of Prozim Ba'arba, why don't we say that when the pasuk says that the 14th read on, that the open cities read on the 14th, Mukafin Klalu Klalo. Maybe the walled cities don't read at all. Maybe they don't read at all. They don't read the Megillah at all. Now, you have to stop right here, and you have to wonder, what do you mean? Whoa, slow down. The Gemara is going to answer. If you look at the Gemara's answer, the Gemara will say, V'lav Yisrael Ninu, they're not Jewish? How could they not read at all? It says that Achashverosh made Gzeira on all his people, and therefore the celebration was clearly from everybody. You just have to understand, what does it mean? How could we have a Havamina that Jews, they wouldn't have to read the Megillah at all? So the Mefarshim say that it could be that there were walled cities already that were made up of Jews that were in less of a sakana than everybody else. They were a little bit safer. They didn't feel it, at least. They didn't feel it as much. And therefore, maybe they don't have to read at all. On that, the Gemara says, V'lav Yisrael Nenu. What do you mean? First of all, even if they didn't feel it, even if they didn't have it, we always have to feel the pain of our brothers and feel their celebration. We're all Klal Yisrael. And also, secondly, they were in a sakan anyway. On that, the Gemara asks another question. Fine, no problem. So you want to prove to me from there that it has to be that they read on the 15th. I have a different possibility. The aim of Prozim Bar Beis, or maybe the Prozim read on the 14th. Mukafin and the walled cities Bar Beis Ubacha Mesar. Because when you make a deduction, when you make a diuk, that could work. The pasuk says the open cities read on the 14th, and we know the 15th is also a possibility. So maybe it means that the walled cities should read on both. Lios osim es yom arba asal achodesh adar ves yom chamisha asar bo. It says that we made the yontif on the 14th ves yom chamisha asar bo on the Shana. So that we have a little bit of a remez in that pasuk. It sounds like there's somebody that might read when on both days. And that the Gemara says no. If it would have said the 14th, the chamisha asar, and the 15th, avav connects the two. But hashta kidikamer, then you would be right, like you're saying. Hashta now the chsiv es yom arba asar ves yom chamisha asar. It says of the s. If you look on the board, it says lios osim es yom arba asar l'chodesh adar ves yom chamisha asar. If it would have said vi yom chamisha asar, that would have connected the two, and you might have been right that we could read on both. But now that it says ves, so the ves doesn't mean both. So therefore, it doesn't mean. It means that you can read on. You can't. It doesn't mean you can read on both. It's got to be one. So on that, the Gemara says a new possibility. Fine. Let's say the aim of Prozim Bar Beisar. Let's say that another possibility. The open walled cities read on the 14th, and Mukafin Iboba Beisar. If they want, they can read on the what? On the 14th. And if they want, they can read on the 15th. Ves. Either do on the 14th or do on the 15th. Okay, and that says the Gemara pasuk that we learned yesterday. Yesterday. Bismanehem. It says their times. And we learned yesterday, their times teaches us that you have to have, it's only one time. Zmana shozeh, lo zmana shozeh. That the times of one is not the times of the other. You can't have one or the other. If you're a 14 person, you got to read on the 14th. If you're a 15th person, you got to read on the 15th. So therefore, obviously, a walled city is going to read only on the 15th. Ask the Gemara, the Amar B'Tleisar. So why don't we say that what? It's going to be on the 13th. On that says the Gemara Keshushan. Because once we don't have a pasuk, Rashi explains. Therefore, once we don't have a pasuk, since there's no hint in the pasuk for the Mukaf and Choma, and we find that Shushan does it on the 15th, logically it makes sense that the Mukaf and Choma also should read on that day. On that, asks the Gemara Kasha, we know that other than the Megillah, there's other things that we do on Purim, right? There's other mitzvahs that we do on Purim other than Megillah. The Megillah is called the Schira. We remember what happened. We read the Megillah and we remember it. We remember the nace. The other things that we do on Purim are called Asiyah, doing things. We give Shalach Manas, Matanus Lev Yonim. What else do we do? Purim Suda. So all those things are called Asiyah. So the Gemara now asks a very basic question that you need to know. All these psukim that you just brought down to say that we read on the 14th and the 15th, they're all speaking about Asiyah. They're speaking about the mitzvos in the Megillah. They're not speaking about the Schira. They're not speaking about the Megillah itself. Sorry, they're talking about the mitzvahs that we do on Purim. They're not speaking about the Megillah. Ashikhan Asiyah. We find in these psukim Asiyah, the mitzvahs you have to do on those days. Schir minol. And how do we know that what? That you have to remember that we do the what? That we do the reading of the Megillah on those days. It says, Gemara Amakra, we have a pasuk. It says, Vayamim ha'ela niskarim v'nasim. These days are remembered and done. Niskarim v'nasim. They're remembered and done, right? Vayamim ha'ela niskarim v'nasim. These days are niskarim v'nasim. They're remembered and they're done. So the niskarim v'nasim is together. That tells us iskish schira l'asiyah. We could compare schira l'asiyah, and therefore just like what? Just like the psukim who's speaking about asiyah, read on the 14th or the 15th, depending. So too, the schira, the reading of the Megillah, read on those days. Let's just read one more small Gemara. Masnisin, our Mishnah says that you read from the times of where? Yoshua ben Nun. So says the Gemara, Masnisin, the Loki Aitana. Our Mishnah is not like the following Tana. The Tani we learned in a Braisa. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha says, Omer, Krochin amukaf and choma miyamos achashveirosh koren mechamisha asar. That this walled cities that read in the times of Achashverosh, they read on the 15th. My time, so he doesn't say, he says what we would have thought logically. My time, the Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Why is Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha say from Achashverosh? Ki Shushan, because just like Shushan, Ma Shushan mukaf es choma miyos Achashverosh. Just like Shushan is a walled city from the times of Achashverosh, the koren mechamisha asar they read on the 15th. So too, anyone that's mukavetz chomim miyos achashverosh korim b'chamisha asar. Tomorrow we're going to try to finish the Amid and maybe discuss a couple of questions that I think they might ask for the test on Daf Hashavua. Have a wonderful day, guys.